Up to date, the Big Hospital has lost many of our staff as a result of the Hard virus. With limited vaccines and the virus spreading faster than ever, I need a solution. Pronto!
Boss, us researchers here at COVID-AA who have been personally mentored and trained by famous
singer, songwriter, rapper, DJ, and favorite professor,
Jonathan, have taken excruciating time and hours to come up with this priority proposal for vaccine distribution.
From the dataset, we have noticed a positive correlation amongst departments with high patient exposure, such as A&E and infection control with fatalities. Other potential contributory factors among fatalities include rate of exercise, old age, and existing respiratory illness. In creating our classification model, however, we decided to give top priority to ICU staff despite them having a lower staff fatality rate because we wanted to protect vulnerable patients from contracting the virus from ICU staff. The staff above 42 were also included into this priority because they have the highest fatality rate. To make the category more selective, we also merged the next category with the highest fatality rate, exercise frequency. Subsequently, the medium and low priorities categories were also arranged in decreasing order of fatality rates. Given our team's belief that medical practitioners' responsibility to protect others extends to those around them, we thus included staff with elderly at home into our low priority category. Here is our final classification model.
So now that we have convinced you about our thought-provoking thought process, let us see how the results have turned out.
As you can see from our slides, the classification model has been successful as those belonging to the highest priority contain the least number of staff.
Bravo! Seems like the perfect classification model. Here's a letter of promotion.
Wait, boss! There's no such thing as a perfect classification model.
Our first limitation would be the age set for our first condition, whereby staff who are 43 years old and do not exercise constitute high priority. This might be unfair in certain circumstances, such as if the staff is 42 years old and do not exercise. However, we set the age limit as such, as our dataset has shown that 100% of deceased staff were at least 43 years old. We understand that a fuller dataset would pose to be more reliable, but we have to make do with what we have. Secondly, some staff may think that it is unfair, as if they fulfill multiple medium or low priority conditions, they will not be promoted to high priority. However, our group re-emphasizes the cruciality of the high priority conditions, whereby ICU staff who treat vulnerable patients, as well as older staff who do not exercise, are at higher risk of succumbing to the fatal effects of the virus. And hence, as it's not possible to prioritize everyone, we have set the conditions as such.
So, in summary, we have decided to place the highest emphasis on those patients who will face fatal effects if they succumb to the virus. With those goals in mind, we've decided to go on with the classification model and also address our limitations.
Now that we've established how we came up with our different priority categories, I'll be telling you how we are going to execute it.
So, boss, our suppliers say that 80% of the vaccines cannot be used already. Yeah, so we only have 15 vaccines left. Like that how?
Good morning, big bosses. Me and my team have come up with our greedy solution, and we give you our assurance this is the best way to allocate the limited vaccines that we have. This is our greedy rule. We will allocate the limited vaccines to the hospital staff with the highest number of interactions to the most vulnerable patients, aka the ICU patients. So, the vaccines will be going to the ICU staff. Now, you may be wondering, why not we just allocate the limited vaccines to the hospital staff who are older and who do not exercise? After all, when we look at our data set, these are the hospital staff who end up succumbing to the virus. Now, let's take a look at two different scenarios.
In the first scenario, let's say we vaccinate a hospital staff who is the oldest and who doesn't exercise. This means that the vaccinated staff can come from any department, reception, logistics, anything. In this scenario, if the hospital staff that's vaccinated happens to be from the logistics department, vaccinating him doesn't help reduce the spread of the virus to the other patients. Instead, another staff who actually interacts with patients may contract the virus and infect their patients. In the next scenario, say we choose to vaccinate the hospital staff who has the highest number of interactions with vulnerable patients, aka the ICU staff. This means that on top of the hospital staff we vaccinate, we also effectively reduce the risk of contracting the virus for the most vulnerable population, the ICU patients.
Now, we face another problem here. We have a total of 47 ICU staff in the big hospital, yet only 15 vaccines available for us. How do we allocate these limited vaccines to all the ICU staff? Our solution for this is simple. We will allocate the limited vaccines to the ICU staff based on who is the oldest, rather than the ICU staff who exercise the least. The rationale for this is simple. When we take a look at our data set, the staff who end up succumbing to the virus are those who are old rather than those who do not exercise. Hence, since the older ICU staff are more in need of the vaccination compared to the ICU staff who do not exercise, we have chosen our greedy rule to prioritize those ICU staff who are older.
And now, bring to you the results of our greedy method. Drum roll, please. Presenting to you, 15 of our hospital's oldest ICU staff members. You might be wondering, how is this possible? Can such a perfect greedy method exist? Well, the answer is no. I'm a researcher, not a conman. I'll be 100% frank with everyone here today. Since the greedy rule requires an optimizing condition and should be kept as simple as possible, therefore, our vaccine should be kept limited for the ICU staff.
We decided to allocate the vaccines to the oldest ICU staff, meaning the other hospital staff who may be more vulnerable to the virus, aka those who are older and those who do not exercise do not get the vaccines.
So it's not possible to prioritize both groups of hospital staff. Then in that case, why do you all choose to prioritize ICU staff over elderly staff who do not exercise?
We, Covidian AA8, strongly believe that in our battle with the HACHU virus, our priority is to save as many lives as possible. We understand that there are some concerns over why we prioritize older ICU staff as compared to the younger ICU staff. After all, by not having enough vaccines for all the ICU staff, you may be wondering, wouldn't the younger ICU staff then succumb to the virus, making this whole practice pointless? However, we believe that firstly, older staff are more vulnerable to the fatal effects of the virus. Thus, we must prioritize their lives compared to younger staff. Also, we believe that healthcare workers are trained to utilize proper sanitization processes before handling patients.
So you're telling me that the algorithm not only saved the lives of staff but also patients as well, making it the best of the best?
Yes, and we can do it all with one simple greedy rule. We can protect as many people as possible and save as many lives as possible.
So why aren't we giving the vaccine to people in charge of operations?
To begin with, those executives are pretty well protected in their offices anyway. To be frank, I believe to get through tough times like this, having high morale is crucial for us as a society. And therefore, to maintain that high morale, we need to prevent as much death as possible so that we can get through all of this and get everyone to the end together.
Cut!
Okay, hey, we done here, right? Right, hungry, go get lunch first.
Okay, wait. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, I hit myself.